Hello everyone, and welcome Modern Drummer to another rundown live from Hootie and the Blowfish on stage, our good friend Jim Sonefeld. Jim?
Glad to be here on stage.
Thank you, my man. It's great to have you here on
Yeah.
stage. This kit, we got to hear it a little bit before now, and it sounds fantastic. So let's go around the kit and see what you're playing here on the tour.
Well, we got this kit from Drum Workshop in 2019 for our tour, and John Good over there wanted to do something with his Purpleheart wood, which is an amazing, amazing wood. You can see the purple part when you guys cut away on the ring of the kick drum, and it is literally purple. It breathes, it punches, but it's warm as well. It just about does everything you'd want in a drum shell. And so we got a whole kit of these. Our snare, again, they're all wrapped in what they call cream oyster, or if you're fancy, creme oyster, maybe, I don't know.
Sounds more appetizing, creme oyster.
Yeah, and Gary Green, who's tuned my drums for 30 years, will tell you too. He puts a coated white head on the snare, but everything else is the smooth ones. And
Okay, all ambassador.
yeah, all ambassador.
And is this the purple wood as well?
Yeah, this is the Purpleheart as well. It's tuned a little lower today. We are in a lot of different environments this summer,
Right.
and sometimes it calls for the house sound man saying, I want something higher or tighter.
Right.
And this thing may mush up a little bit even between now and the show, and he may have to come back for a retune.
And this is a 6.5?
6.5, I believe so.
Yep.
I look to Gary for all my information.
And then what do we have here?
We got a 10 and a 12,
Okay.
and I do any of my quick rolls up here mainly, and then I end up flamming around 14 and 16 a lot. And I tell you, this 14 here is the gold standard for me. I've been able to use it. I think it's more control than a 16, and I'll use it as a 16. So when I'm doing any of that stuff, I'll prefer to do it on the 14.
Oh, okay.
I've got another DW kit at home that is the same way. The 14s, they project, and they've got that low end, but they're quick too. So
Enough bottom, but you get the extra response.
Yes.
Because it's the 14 and not the 16.
yeah, and so I've loved the 14s. If I ever have to scale down to a 4-piece, the 14 will be here.
And what would you have up top at that
Probably
point?
the 12.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it a little lower, but yeah,
And then you got, it looks like a 16 or 14 by 22.
a standard 22, and we had a bigger one on 2019. John Good convinced me, or Garrison convinced me, we needed a big John Bonham like kick drum,
Okay.
which was great. It was the bigger version of this and shallower, I believe, but we had trouble finding drum heads for it because we go through a lot. We often take the front head off with the Hootie logo and the band signs it, and it goes to a charity.
Okay.
So we were having trouble keeping up with that size, and that was a 24, I believe, 23 actually. Says Gary again.
23. And what are you
23.
playing here? 22?
22, yeah. And these always work. DWs, I've never kicked a 22 that just didn't give you everything. And I've had I've probably had a half dozen kits through the years.
And that's a pinstripe on there.
Yeah, pinstripe here, and
The DW hardware.
yeah,
And it's the flat beater.
flat beater, which I
Nylon.
thought wouldn't give enough oomph, but it's absolutely perfect.
Okay.
And it's the 9000 series pedal, which again, just flawless. You don't ever have to think, am I kicking too hard?
Right.
Or if I don't kick soft enough, is it going to give enough? It does everything. It really does. They keep getting better and better at DW.
All DW hardware.
Yep,
And then you've got the 9000 hi-hat.
yep. And it's, again, sturdy, Velcro on the bottom, so it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And if you want to move it, it's a little harder,
but it's worth it.
but it's worth it.
And what do we have for a side snare?
We've got a metal snare here, and Gary maybe can tell us if it's brass. I just call it metal because I know it's louder and higher. So we use this on a few songs in place of having electronics. I think is the idea. I've wanted to stay acoustic, and I've never been trusted with a bunch of buttons because I can't do tech. So we'll use this as a feature on a few songs, and it's got a little higher pitch to it. Gives me a chance to roll a little quicker on some of the marching band type sounds.
Got it.
And
we've got moon gel to kind of control the overtones.
Yeah, it's
right, on all
been
the drums.
perfect. We these things are pretty steady, and I think I'm going to ask Gary to comment a little bit on the tuning of these, because John Good at DW does a special thing. Gary, tell us about some of the tuning. Come on up, man.
Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you. Yeah, so again, John made this easy for us when even initially when we went to get the first kits. He, took the time to listen to the music and knew kind of what Jim's style was. So the object with this Purpleheart was that it's richer than oak, it's deep, it's throaty, and he does a lot of flams. And so when he combines some of the high toms and the low toms together, that gives a nice frequency push against each other and makes a great tonal quality. And these are all pitch paired. So as you go around the kit, we start with B, we go to G sharp, and then we go to E, and then C. So it ends up
So I'm flamming. I'm also. It gives you different ways of getting some energy and some loudness, but.
Yeah, like you had mentioned before, the moon gel is just kind of there for a little bit of control.
Just tightening it up.
Yeah, the ambassadors on the top and the bottom are essentially the same with this thin white coating only on the top, but we. And the drums will tell you when they're in tune. I wish I could say I had a secret magic way, but once you get it up to where it starts resonating the head, it's just automatically kind of ooh and sings to you. So
and you've got the same ambassador on the bottom?
Just the clear version.
Oh, clear.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're tuned, very close to the same, so that I don't get any kind of weird wave bounce or anything. So everything's pretty even. And he was right. Like when the 23 by 14 had a lot of punch to it. It didn't have the, it didn't throw the air as far. It was a shorter distance, but it filled up. But it was a nightmare just trying to keep up with 23-inch drum heads, mainly for logos. And he likes the 22, and it's a punchy sound. And having the contrast of these toms being throaty and a little more thinner, higher end cymbals on the A series.
Which we're going to get to.
Yeah. Just makes a nice combination without filling up the whole frequency range.
And Purpleheart wood.
Yeah.
That's the name of the wood.
Yeah, and it's what they call their VLT series. So what they do is the first ply inside and the last ply before that cream pearl coating are all the grain is linear, it's sideways, it's vertical.
Okay.
And then the ones on the inside are all up and down. And so what it does, it allows for that tone to exist longer and gives a better response. And again, with like his, and you'll hear tonight, like when he's doing a lot of flams and things, it really stands out.
Yeah.
So,
It sounds so military.
Right,
I feel like there's like an award or a badge or something you're going to get from this wood.
The Purpleheart wood,
Purpleheart wood.
And I understand it's not the easiest thing to work with. That, people like John Good or Paul Reed Smith, those guys, those are wood gurus, and they just they know all of that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just simplified, I just dumbed it down for everyone. Sorry.
No, it's a great explanation. So let's go around the cymbals. You mentioned A's, but I see a K there, and I see a China here. So let's go cymbal by cymbal. What do we got, guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've always used the A's. There's custom A's, and there's the almond A's. But we got an 18 up here. It's a little thinner. It's fast and it projects. But really, if you want more quick, it's the old custom A, I think here. It's a 17.
Yeah.
And so a little quicker, a little deeper. And then we have the old quick beats, just standard. They just
like
don't go
15s,
wrong.
Though. They look big.
They're 13s.
Those are 14.
14.
What? I can't even read it, so we're gonna trust Gary on this one. But the coolest-
We played 13s before, and that particular A, that cymbal's like 2004,
Yeah.
I think. So it's been around for a while.
Yeah, and Zildjian's great, but if it's working, we're gonna stick with it.
Right.
We did something new this summer, which we ended up getting a few new splashes, and this is something we just sort of through experiment worked on, and I can get the a little bigger sound, but then a really quiet, and sometimes I do a the double, and that's just a little added feature. We got them mic'd up good so they come through. But that's something new this summer, as well as this dark ride, this 22.
Yeah.
And it's made for a lot of different styles of music.
Very dry.
Very dry and a little dark for what I like to hear. So we've cranked it up in my ears to brighten it up a little bit. But it's the sound for the sound man.
And it's got the bell.
Yeah, the
That's
bell
what
is the whole thing.
He loves the bell, but at risk of that, a lot of the ping rides and things we were using were just hanging around too long.
Yeah.
And as they started developing more and more, and us getting more educated on darker rides and how they project, they brought this out in Boston this year. Love it. In fact, we have a fictitious magazine called Ride Cymbal Monthly, and it won every year.
It's the winner in our
It's the
fictitious
winner.
magazine, yeah.
And what won for China Cymbal Monthly?
This is an old one. Again, China Cymbal Monthly says that this, is it Azuki? What is the,
No, that honestly, I set that up as a joke really tall one time because the ban forever was like no Chinas.
yes, I had a
So
ban
we
on
snuck it in.
a traditional size, 14 or bigger. They told me I put one up.
China
to
trash.
Oriental China trash.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
So I eventually, once they banned me from a big China, I snuck this one in. Gary snuck it in one day.
But it's too loud, right? If you go to the bigger ones,
Oh, yeah.
They don't like it.
It's not a big part of the Hootie.
Sure.
But it
Soundtrack.
allows me to feel like I'm a hard drummer. And I use it a lot as a result, eventually sneaking it into songs that it didn't even need to be in, which is the
And we
beauty.
got a little fast crash.
An older one too. We used to
Little
have this
fast
in the
flash.
front, but so it's an old one. But again, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it.
Yeah.
So loving our cymbal setup.
LP tambourine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is again. I've tried to break this thing. I hit it pretty good. Gary handles most of the tambourine stuff on percussion,
Right.
but there are some songs where I do some accents. And again, some of it is to keep me enthused and amused. We're live. We're not on any tracks, and so
No.
I can manage to, do things different from night to night. So this area here is important for me, along with my splashes.
So no tracks.
No tracks.
Everything's
No
live. No
track.
click either.
No click.
Okay. So
Never
It's
have. and-
truly as live as
Yeah.
it comes.
Which nowadays we can tell you from having the privilege of working with so many great artists, that's rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the norm nowadays is something's pre-recorded, whether it's
Yeah.
at the very least a click and
It's-
sometimes full on,
No.
backing.
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
And we will let you know from time to time that it is live. Last night
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of those nights where I tried a few things that did not end as I had wished.
When we
And-
try something new, if he doesn't look at me or I don't look at him, knowing that something, then we haven't accomplished what we needed to do.
And you've got Vic Firth, you're playing 5A wood tip.
Yeah. We've gone back and forth. We used the plastic ones for a while, but I couldn't help it breaking them back when I was a young man, hitting a lot harder and being abusive probably. But these have been solid. I just don't pick up two that are different and consistent. So we
They have been so loyal. When we called them in 2019 to get, saying we were going to tour, they still had his signature and everything on file. They've been so
Sony.
great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what else? Any other accessories or tidbits we should be aware of?
No, we keep it simple, honestly. With keeping it live and keeping it real and letting this whole area be acoustic, and then let Gary's percussion world include a couple of electronic or triggered sounds.
Yeah.
It keeps me free to do my background singing, and that's an important feature too.
Sure.
It gives me something that is as important, I think, as the drums, is making sure I'm hitting notes. So I don't need other stuff and more bells and whistles to mess with.
Because you're one of the voices of the background stuff.
Yeah.
nowadays, and that's a
We've
huge
got a
part.
big chorus
Yeah.
behind us, but each voice is important. So I've tried to simplify it, and I like to have fun too. As much as I would want a lot of things, and we have had bigger versions of this through the years. It never pays off. I've become either a little bit distracted or tempting fate with things that I don't need to do.
And there's a lot of percussion, colors, we'll call it, in your palette.
Yes.
Right? Well, we have over on stage, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty to fill in the foundation of what you're playing on this kit. So
Right.
there's certainly almost endless possibilities between your rolling pads and your actual, hand percussion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of choices.
Yeah, we've had producers in past give me their samples so that if there was an underlying loop feature in a song, we could play it live again without having to go to a click track or go to some track we start or stop. I just play.
Nice.
Yeah. And it fluctuates some, but the band has been around so long together, they fluctuate together. So it's nice when everything kind of ebb and flows.
And you've been with them how many years?
About 30. Yeah, started out, basically just, I remember the first time they pulled their drum set out at this club called Ziggy's in Winston-Salem. It was in a trailer, and it was this old Ludwig kit with a rack system that was just all...
Not square.
No. And we've come a long ways with what the setup is now and how it moves around. But again, we're kind of creatures of habit. Zildjian, DW, Vic Firth, Remo, LP they've all just been great for the band and the longevity. And we keep what we got. We don't,
No, it works and it sounds great.
Yeah.
Can we hear the kit?
Something like that. I've learned to play open hand, slightly out of boredom and slightly out of trying to amuse myself through the years. So I've become an open hand drummer later in life. Go back and forth.
Okay, you switch it up.
Again, it keeps it live, and I learned to open up, I think, my brain a little bit. When I learned to open hand, it opened up my whole body.
Right. No, it's hard to do, but it really changes because now all of a sudden simple, straightforward grooves aren't simple and straightforward anymore.
And,
so that really you have to retrain your muscle memory.
And fortunately or unfortunately, I've learned a lot of that doing it live. So
what better way, right?
Yeah, well, it's exciting. You always know it's real.
Jim Sonefeld, Hootie and the Blowfish, David Frangioni. We had Gary Green with us, the man behind the curtain, making things happen, and on stage, playing percussion, jack of all trades. So Jim, thank you. It's great to see you. This rig is awesome. Modern drummer. Check out Jim on tour. And I'm David Frangioni. We'll see you again very soon. And also hit the subscribe button here. And I'm David Frangioni for Modern Drummer. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.